Good morning, my beauties. How are you doing all out there in the world? Wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for joining us. We've got a few new countries that are listening in, so thank you very much and hi. And today I have got Katie Tucker on with me. She is a holistic creative therapist who owns Divine Creative. I would love you to meet her. Katie, take it away. Let us know what you do.
Hello. Yes, so I'm Katie, and yes, I am a holistic creative therapist. And I was just saying to you, Becky, that I'm really proud to be able to say that. Goodness, yeah. So I
It's
own.
a wonderful title. It really is. It's a fab title. I love it. Almost a bit jealous, actually.
I know it is a fab title because it says everything and nothing all at the same time in a way.
Absolutely.
So, we can literally create with it, which is lovely. But ultimately, what Devine-Creative does, which is sort of my business name, we are a holistic creative therapy education college and wellbeing practitioners as well. So I teach these beautiful skills. I'm the course facilitator for two amazing holistic creative therapy courses, and I practice the skills in the wellbeing arm. So I see clients and work with groups, work with charities, supporting people with really beautiful creative activities and skills.
That's absolutely wonderful. So tell us about how you came about from going from what I'm sure was probably more of a 9 to 5 kind of lifestyle into creating. Well, see, we're back to creativity, creating your own business, your own freedom into Divine Creative.
Yeah, absolutely. It right now really isn't 9 to 5. Definitely, it might be 5 to 9 sometimes, but it's definitely not 9 to 5. So yeah, I worked in the corporate world. So goodness, so I actually went long ago. I actually was a student at St Martin's College at UAL in London. So art had always been my thing at school. I got actually really good school grades, but most of them were creating. They were art. They were hands-on sort of practical subjects that I was really good at. So it was always sort of in me. But I spent this year on a foundation course at St Martin's, and I don't know. It's probably just being young and not really having a clue what the world looks like. Yes, the internet was coming about, but we didn't have this vastness and this
No,
availability in the world that we have this day to
not
see
at all.
of all the things that you might be able to do. You just kind of knew what your parents did or knew what your uncle did,
Yeah,
and
pretty much. Yeah.
it was that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And both my parents were office workers. My dad had his own business. My mum worked in an estate agent, but they were very much office based. So I'd done this foundation year at art school. And I'd actually done it in ceramics and three-dimensional design, really enjoyed it, but couldn't see a career in it, I
Yeah.
suppose. And actually the only career I could see was kind of being a potter, sitting in a sort of art studio on my own. And it just didn't feel quite right for me. I'm very much a people person. So I thought, you're young and you're able to make sort of any decision you like almost
Yeah.
at that stage. I was still living at home. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to just go to work, just get a job for a year. And that will sort me out, see what happens. And of course, I ended up in office work.
That 1 year turns into, ridiculous amount of time,
25
isn't it?
years. Yeah, 25 years, something like that. So,
Flipping done though, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. So, yeah, so 25 years in the corporate world. And do you know, it was it was fine, and it really worked at that time. I was working in London, I was earning good money. My fiance and I at the time bought our first house. We got married, we had children. Though I was able to flex my hours and then work part time around the children. So all these boxes were ticked, and the money was still quite good. So I was actually sort of okay. But it was as the children were becoming slightly more independent and they were going to school and I was still working part-time, that so I was working Monday to Wednesday, so I had 2 days a week. And I started to actually think about myself at that point and kind of think, do you know what? I don't really want to do what I'm doing. Like, why am I doing this? And I really began to realize, and this was over the course of probably 2 or 3 years, but I really began to realize that I was very much the proverbial square peg in a round hole. I could do the job. I'd done the job for ages. I knew what was needed. There was no way I was actually fulfilled by this work.
Yeah.
And it was pressurized and it was stressful. And I just thought, I just didn't want to be there. And gosh, it was sort of Sunday afternoon, evenings that the anxiety started creeping up, that the tears started flowing. It was that, I call it now an anxious shower, where I'd get in the shower, going through the motions of showering, dressing, putting my makeup on, and almost physically deciding to leave the house. You know, it wasn't a natural Monday morning by any
It's awful,
stretch.
isn't it?
It's crazy
Oh,
when I think back about how uncomfortable I was just getting myself into the office, never mind being there
no,
with the
don't mind
mums.
the actual hours of being there.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And it was like wearing a cloak and mask for all that
Yeah.
time. And they now I know that it was all about lack of fulfillment. Ultimately, my heart wasn't singing. I really, it sounds awful, and I didn't realize at the time until it's been afterwards and since that I've realized, but I really didn't care, and that was what was wrong with me.
Completely. And I truly believe that we are called towards what we need to be. We're not talking divine calling as in become a nun, but there are people that they feel this undeniable feeling that what they're doing now isn't working, as you said, like square peg. But then this pull, this sort of draw to go to this other thing or to break free or just quit, and you'll find out you just get this kind of this pull that you can't quite explain, but it
Mm,
comes to you at the right time, I think. Like, I think your job did you well, and it did everything
absolutely.
you needed, as you said, house, kids,
Yeah,
expensive wedding, all these
yeah,
things that you need that sort of stability for. And then it sounds to me that like you were just drawn towards actually what really would not only fulfill you, but would help other people as well. It's just incredible.
absolutely. And I was thinking about, I it's so silly, isn't it? How your own story. I'm so good at listening to everybody else's. I actually had to think back and to kind of take myself back to feeling like this, to be here and talk to you today. And I recalled this like when I think back now, just the most ridiculous scenario. But both the children are at school and they were having this sort of summer picnic on the field, and we as parents were to bring lunch and have lunch with our children on the field. It was, I don't know, fundraising for a charity, whatever it was. So anyway, I was due at the school with a packed lunch to meet the children. And I'd said to my friend, yeah, your little boy can join us as well, because she was working. So I was due to be there. I completely forgot. Like, it just, like, I'd planned it, but it just didn't physically register to actually make that move and go and do it. I turned up, so for an hour's lunch, I turned up 30 minutes late. It was raining as well. It was raining as well. And I've got these two young children, and it's wet place, so we're all squished into classrooms and the hall for lunch and that sort of thing. And because I'm late, we were shoved into this tiny little kind of, the small sort of office classrooms that they do the
Well,
they do the special needs work and that sort of thing in. So we were shoved in there, and the kids just looked at me, and I'd literally got a Tesco's bag from the cupboard and just done that, like shoved the food in the Tesco's bag. I turned up, and they looked at me, and one of my children was just holding this tin of tuna, and I just shoved
Oh,
no tin opener, nothing to eat the tuna with.
oh
So
my God.
this was the state of my mind. This was how anxious I was, and I'm an organized person. I don't let people down. I'm on time. So this wasn't me. And I just sat there, these two children and their friend just staring at me like I had three heads. And I just had to control my tears. It was like, that was one of the really defining moments of
I can understand
you are,
why.
you're not well.
Because when we look at you now, I'm sure even people watching you that have never seen you before. I mean, I've only met you once online before this, but I said to you then, you are very chill, right? You've got this very calming vibe. You just very sort of together and very relaxed and just very with it, and you feel like being in your presence is actually quite calming as an effect on me, which I'm sure your people say to you as well. That trying to imagine you in that moment with this tin of tuna and these kids, like, it's absolutely like a hilarious story, but obviously it was not hilarious at the time in the slightest, as these things never are. But
Yeah.
wow, like, and again, you can see the difference in you. Like, I can't
Yeah.
imagine you doing that now, and I don't even really know you.
No, and that was
Wonderful.
exactly it. In that moment, I realized I didn't
Yeah,
know myself,
yeah,
and
yeah.
actually, it was really scary. It was really scary to get that bad, and like I say, this is sort of this anxiety and this discomfort, which I do blame on the job, this lack of fulfillment, the pressure I was under. It was a growing thing. It grew over a number of years. So these are sort of stories from the latter end of that for sure. But it was all triggering me into change, basically,
Very
making me
much.
realize I needed to change. And it was this one week. I'd been again in tears on the way in on the Monday morning, absolute relief on the train home on the Wednesday afternoon, evening. And good old social media. I was sort of just sitting really sort of mind numb in a way, just scrolling through social media. But this career change coach popped up on the feed. And I sort of clicked on and had a look through, and she just seemed to understand where I was at. Lack of fulfillment, just not feeling comfortable in who you are at the moment. It was all the right words, the words I needed to read. And I just reached out and arranged a virtual coffee with this career change coach. And we had a really lovely conversation. She was really able to validate, I suppose, how I was feeling and listen to me to hear how I was feeling. And my wonderful husband helped me get the money together to do a 12-week course with her. And that was the admission of I need help,
Yeah.
actually saying that out loud and stepping into making a change. And in those 12 weeks, we realised actually I'd already started doing some voluntary work for the NHS. I was working with their community support team and supporting stroke patients as they were finishing their medical journey and
Oh,
sort of
cool.
reintegrating into society. So while kids
Wonderful.
were at school, I'd started
Yeah.
to try and find that fulfillment somewhere else. And I was really getting a lot out of that. And that came through with this coaching, that sort of caring, nurturing, but sort of real life instances of caring and nurturing rather than the monopoly money in the corporate world.
Yeah, of course.
And also what came to the forefront was creativity, or my current lack of creativity. So back to those school days where I was getting those natural A's and the Central St Martin's year of art. It brought it all back, and I'd always had some sort of creative thing on the go. I think at this time it was cake decorating, the kids' birthday cakes and that sort of thing. So I'd always dabbled and had something going, but I'd not actually realized that creativity was a soul-based need.
Yeah.
And it really highlighted that.
It's almost up there with those basic needs. It really is. So you need love, you need affection and food and water and shelter and warmth. And I think that creativity should be part of that. We talk
Yeah.
about it a lot on the podcasts, generally. First one to talk about it directly is with you. But generally, I bring it up quite a lot because I'm a very creative person. So I need that. And when I don't have that, I notice it. I notice a dip in myself.
Yeah.
And it is, it's quite a necessary thing. And that everybody, and this is the bit I love the most, is everybody can be creative. And we reiterate this one a lot. You don't have to be a singer, a dancer, a painter. You can find creativity in the small things. But I do believe that everybody needs to add that to their basic necessity needs for sure.
Absolutely. Creativity is innate. It's a part of all of us. It's absolutely there, whether you think it is or not, it is. And like, just as you're saying, your creativity could be completely different from the next person's. There may be a beautiful portrait artist out there who really is creative in that sort of more traditional artistic way.
Yeah.
But actually, do you know what? You just making the bed in the morning and putting the pillows in the right place could be your level of creativity. And do you know what? It's just as important and just as beautiful. And yet you do not need to be good, good at art or good at music or good at dancing to get fulfillment and that feed, that need and feed of your creative self from it as well.
So so I look at creativity and I kind of go along the lines of it's a basic need. It speaks to our inner children.
Yeah.
So we need that. Everybody needs to speak to their inner child. We need to tap into that quite often. It's a really easy way to tap into it as well. Then you've kind of got everybody needs that, what's the word, kind of like that flow, that outlet.
Yeah.
But I also truly believe that for very specific requirements, so people with anxiety, people with depression, that creativity can lead as an outlet, it can actually be very, very beneficial.
Yeah,
You deal with that
absolutely.
sort of thing a lot.
Yeah, I think the beauty of creativity, and certainly in therapeutic work, is that it can replace the need for words. And there are a lot of us out there who have seen counsellors and therapists and spoken and spoken and spoken about what our thing is. And actually, you can run out of words, or you can lose expression, or you can almost just get bored of hearing the same thing again and again and not know how else to go about telling your story, expressing your concern. And actually, being creative can open up that doorway and bring a way of that, of expression to you that you might not have found before. And I certainly experienced that through my training and looking at the students I work with, looking at the clients I see. So often they'll just come to me and say, I didn't realize that was part of this, but it's all come out in this picture or in this painting or of this movement. One of my colleagues, not a dancer at all, but has always been a musician, got so much from elemental movement, just shifting energy physically through herself. And it really, really helped her express an awful lot of grief that she was holding on to at one stage. And you could almost see it in facilitating the session. You could almost see her body sort of almost explode out through movement to then relax back and enjoy that release as well. So it can be really powerful stuff.
I agree. movement in particular is very powerful. I mean, holistically speaking, we all recommend movement for everything from,
Yeah,
use exercise to clear your mind, to help your mental health, to obviously help your body, help your heart. But sometimes it's just the movement, isn't it? And the thought of actually, I can imagine, I mean, I haven't danced since I was in college. I can't imagine that I still have those kind of moves, but I can imagine just moving to release tension, moving, yeah, to release grief and anger and resentment and all these very dark feelings. Your body doesn't want to hold on to them. It just doesn't know how to get rid of it.
that's it. And I think I very purposefully try not to use the word dance, because again, it's like that whole,
It's
you
kind
got
of
to
like
do
dance, isn't it? Yeah,
something.
like
Yeah.
it's a no skill
And there's
dance.
rules to follow, and you step like this or you
Yeah,
step like, but
yeah.
actually to just move, we can all do that. And honestly, one of my saviors when I was still working in London, because I had an overlap of period where I was trained but not quite ready to step away from the corporate world. One of the spaces I found the most freedom was getting home, putting the music on and dancing while I was cooking dinner, literally dancing around the kitchen. Nobody was watching, or if they were, it was only the kids. They didn't care and they probably joined in anyway. And and it really can help, definitely. So
Yeah,
a lot,
it sort of brings to mind just literally shake it off, like
yeah,
it's a very logical thing, isn't it? Shake it off, all that negativity and everything, shake it out.
definitely. And most of what I work with, regardless of the creative modality, because there are many, but most of what I work with, it's all about regulating the autonomic nervous system. So it's finding that balance. And the easiest way of doing that is just breathing deeply, because you're giving the good old vagus nerve a big tap at the bottom as you're filling your lungs into your tummy. You're tapping on that vagus nerve, which is going to enhance your relaxation response. And you know what? If nothing else, doing a bit of movement is going to help you breathe deeper and give
Yeah,
that vagus
definitely.
nerve a
No, definitely. I'm a fond believer of the power of breath work, something that I didn't, which I'm unfortunately unable to do today. I can't even breathe through my nose at the moment. I've got such a horrible cold. I realise I'm sort of sat here just stuffy and awful, saying I completely believe in breath work. But yeah, under normal, non-cold circumstances, breath work to me was a huge saviour, huge
Mm,
saviour, and I use it now not just when I feel anxious or anything's bothering me. I use it when I work with clients. I use it in meditations for my clients. I will literally utilize it at any given moment. So yeah, I do agree with you that, moving your body does inspire to you to all of a sudden use that breath work at the same time. Otherwise you do end up too tired and out of breath. But the two together are pretty
yeah.
damn powerful, actually.
Absolutely. And all of what we're talking about ultimately is bringing on the relaxation response. And the more relaxed you are, the more creative you are.
Yeah.
Um, Again, it's that sort of turning off that logical brain that we're using all the time. Well, maybe not turning it off, but allowing it to rest a while, because we use that all the time. Even just picking up your phone and dialing a number or sending a text, that's that logical brain in action. It's following steps, it's following procedure, it's making sense of the world. And just to allow that to relax brings about the creative mind, which enhances the relaxation. So it's all about tapping into relaxation to enhance your creativity, and you're just going to feel better. It really isn't much more complicated than that.
Which is absolutely fabulous. And I 100% agree. There is
Mm,
not much that I wouldn't give a go to, but that is as a truly creative person. So
yeah.
I do realize that if you are not naturally a creative person, or in your mind, you're not a naturally
Mm,
creative person, it perhaps hasn't occurred to you what could work for you, maybe you haven't even looked into it,
Yeah.
then, you know, it can be quite daunting, can't it? You know, because again, people do, they big it up in their head like they have to be good at it, that they have to be skilled in some manner. And I think the conversation that you and I had when we first met on the phone call that I loved was that you kind of talked about doodling.
Mm.
And it is, for me, I love doodling. My whole family doodle.
Yeah.
My husband, who swears blind, I can't draw. Doodle's the most amazing things, and I really do amazing. If I say to him, draw me a picture, he just goes, I can't. And he'll, you know, it's just very cartoony, it's a bit, you know, sketchy. And I'll say to him, you know, it's really good. But doodle, and he disengages his brain, the ego's gone,
Yeah.
and he's just away with the fairies, and he's just, he has drawn masterpieces, beautiful things that I've put into frames. Do you know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
are gorgeous. And you say to him, you're really good at that. And he's like, oh no, really? Or did I do that? And it's kind of like, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And I think that it does release a lot when you just disengage, as you said, that logical mind, the ego that's telling you, you know, like, oh, you can't, and so on and so forth. But when you mentioned doodling, I thought, what a fabulous way to tap into your creativity if you think that you're not good at it. You know, it's quite simple, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really simple. And I think it's giving yourself permission. It's being curious. It's just having a go. And you know, just knowing that there's no right or wrong. You know, art isn't right, art isn't wrong, art is art, and it's always art's always one of those big debates, isn't it? You know, you might go up to the Tate Gallery to this amazing modern art exhibition, and somebody's just thrown some paint at a canvas, and it's on the wall in the Tate, and it's worth millions of pounds. But actually, there's a bit of you that could be really cynical about that. But actually, do you know what? That throwing the paint for that artist has a story, has a meaning, has an expression. And actually to doodle is you're throwing the paint at the canvas. You know, it really is. You don't know what's going to come out. It doesn't matter what's going to come out. It's just about allowing yourself that freedom to give it a go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I read somewhere that for people that are sort of I suppose with depression and probably what you're saying, where people don't want to talk anymore, they can't verbalize what they need to say.
Yeah.
The doodling's a really great modality for that because it just kind of leaks out of you onto the page kind of thing.
Yeah.
So perhaps that thing that you're hanging on to or you can't let go of or that you can't verbalize kind of just comes out and that basically and my husband was telling me about it that you just sort of turn the page if it's quite dark just turn the page carry on and
Yeah.
eventually it will you know it will broaden it will change what you are drawing will become something else and those emotions will change with it.
Yeah, exactly that. I have a client who actually I'm just finishing with her at the moment. She's in her last couple of sessions with me, but she is undergoing further analysis because we actually believe she's suffering with PTSD,
Oh,
so post-traumatic stress disorder. So she's definitely
God.
in a pretty sad, pretty dark place
Yeah.
with her story. But we came across each other and, you know, she's been working with me for sort of on a 10-week program. She got so much out of finger painting. It literally
Oh, we spoke
changed her
about
being.
finger painting, didn't we, last time? It's one of your favourites, isn't it? Yeah.
It's my absolute favorite. I absolutely love it. And that's what I love about sort of giving myself this freedom and permission to explore what art is, what being artistic is, because actually, do you know what? Making a mess on the page and using really unconventional techniques, like my art teacher would be turning in her grave if she could see me now, but but honestly, finger painting, it's that somatic physical touch an
Yeah.
expression. And it was the most simple exercise. We just literally put some poster paints on a plate, and she was dipping her fingers in and just literally making sort of fingerprints dots on the page. And she must have made 6 or 8 pages of fingerprint dots.
Wow.
And she started a bit skeptical, a bit like, oh, really? Like my 7-year-old would enjoy this, but I'm not sure.
Wow.
By page 3, she was like, oh, if I do this and mix that, I'm making another color. And what if I do that? Or what if I, smear the paint across the page? And she really, really got lost in just playing. And as the session was sort of ending, and she almost didn't want to leave the paintings behind. They were wet. So I was saying to her, leave them and you can collect them next week. But she was so attached to these paintings that she's done
Oh,
and the expression that they'd given her. And she said, she came back the next week and she said, I've just been glowing from the finger painting, from every moment I've sort of had the opportunity to roll back into that sort of sad place and realize what's going on in my life. The finger paintings popped up and it's just made me smile. And,
how
you know,
fabulous.
that was, yeah, just through such a simple exercise.
Yes,
That,
such a simple exercise. As she sort of thought, something you associate with kids at school and so on. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, well, literally, she's probably soothed her inner child massively there, getting her hands dirty and everything else. But I mean, it sounds like fun.
yeah,
And when you're
absolutely.
feeling like that, fun's hard to come by as well, So
Yeah,
that's, oh, how wonderful.
yeah, it
Oh, I
really is.
do want to come round and do finger painting now. I really want to come round now.
Definitely come and visit me in the studio. This is the tidy end of the studio. That's the arty messy end. But I sort of didn't even finish telling you how I sort of got into all of this, Becky, because I was so
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 we
I
did that
finished.
thing where we just sort of went off on a tangent. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
but I love that. But I was just finishing with the career coach, and yeah, I had this care and want to look after people in their real lives, not the monopoly money side of people, and this artist, this creative side of me that needed joining. And I actually did a small project. We, on top of everything anxiety ridden, we'd also been living on a building site for the last year because we had our whole house completely renovated. So that was probably adding to the emotions. But what happened, we'd got to know the builder quite well, and I'd offered, as part of this, just make a change, just do something different. I'd offered to go and look at his operational, what's the word I'm looking for? The operational process in his business, because he was
Oh,
growing
okay,
at
yeah,
quite a rate
yeah,
of knots. And that's something I was doing sort of in the corporate world as well. So I said, oh, I'll go and do that. And just drawing these sort of flow diagrams was more creative than I'd been for a long time. So, but even a flow diagram at that stage felt creative to me, but it
right.
wasn't enough. And that's when I found, again, social media is magic, but that is when I found the course that I then took to become a creative therapist. So it's called Holistic Integrated Creative Art Therapy. And it's owned and authored by a college in Australia called Mind Body Education. And I actually studied with them in Australia, so all online, to gain the qualification that I've got. It's a year-long course, and I started it as lockdown started. Didn't know lockdown was starting at the time, but I'd signed up for the February 2020 intake, and of course, then we went into lockdown. Oh my goodness! So
Yeah,
we'll
but
add a
good job you had
bit.
it though. Good job that
So
you had something to do as well, like obviously sort of already planned. So again, it
yeah.
was like divine timing, right?
Absolutely. And this is again sort of where the power of this creativity was coming in, because not only did it save me through lockdown, but actually I was sharing it with my family. I was showing the kids, I was showing my husband. We were just becoming more aware and more grateful for actually how well off we were in that space and that time together,
Wow.
and in our newly renovated home. Thank goodness the renovations had finished by the
Yeah. Could you imagine? Oh my God.
yeah, but it really was eye-opening and balancing through that really difficult time where you're homeschooling the kids. Both my husband and I were working from home. At the time, my art shed didn't exist, so I was at the kitchen table, Mummy, I want, on a biscuit, or I need help with my maths work, or whatever it was, as well as trying to do the corporate work. Yet we had this beautiful creative focus. So we were getting the paints out. We were diving in with pastels. We were going and collecting leaves in the garden and making mandalas. We were
Oh,
dancing and moving.
yeah.
I ordered clay in for one of the modules at one stage, and we created these just wonderful sort of sculptures of our family. And it really did save us. And that's the beauty of this work as well. It's adaptable and usable for all and any age groups.
Oh, completely. Yeah, absolutely.
So from kids to the, older adults, all abilities or even and disabilities, it's relevant to. It's so adaptable. So you get a very diverse, very broad opportunity through these skills as well, which is just magical.
I just cannot agree more. I think kids teach us a lot as well. They're fearless. Even if they are kind of a bit afraid of things, they're not scared if someone sort of pulls out the card or the glitter or anything. They just chuck themselves at it. They dive right in. They're dying for that moment to happen at school because they prefer that over anything else. They just want to be creative all the time, don't they? They want to
Yeah,
learn the fun stuff, and they want to stretch themselves, and they want to run further, and they want to do this and that and the other. I mean, what an inspiration kids are in that respect.
definitely. They've not
Lose
gone
that,
so
don't
far.
they?
Yeah, they've not gone so far into that logical
Oh,
doing responsible side of themselves yet. They're still very much in touch with that innate creativity.
wow.
And it is beautiful, and it is what we as adults need to embrace more of. Find that joy, put that sparkle back in life.
Yeah, do you know what? I've got a few friends that, again, they're holistic based therapists of sorts. We've got one that's a hypnotherapist and so on, and they really seek out that inner child joy of being creative. So you find them at wreath making workshops, and they'll work with flowers, and they'll do this, and the joy on their faces is huge. We went as a family and we did pottery painting. This is my little pottery. I could not be proud. I had so much fun doing this.
Yeah.
I loved it. I never realized that I actually would enjoy this. Never thought about it. I did it for the kids. We went in. I think I was the last one at the table, and I was probably the one that enjoyed it the most. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was 90 minutes I could go do every Sunday happily.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the biggest changes I've personally made in my life, is to make sure I'm creative in some way, some form, you know, uh, every week,
Yeah.
actually purposefully create something or do something creative.
Oh,
And, the ideal is daily. And, my work allows for that a lot now.
yeah.
And that it can be creative, from writing a newsletter and putting a social media post together, through to literally getting my hands into that paint and smearing it around the page,
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I bet you really love that bit.
that's the best bit.
Absolutely. So, okay, we know that finger painting is one of your favorites. What would be
Yeah.
your other favorite, yeah, form of creativity?
I love working with clay as well.
Nice.
There's something really magical about just holding a piece of clay and realizing, if you think about the clay's journey, it's from the deepest, darkest depths of the earth, and it evolves and it moves and it's transported and it gets knocked and bruised and bashed. And it has this life energy, earth life energy, and just holding clay somehow makes you breathe deeper, somehow brings that relaxation. And it was really magical. I worked with a group of adults with ADHD, autism, Asperger's, so all people who find it naturally quite difficult to sort of be still, be calm, relax, meditate. And I thought, right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring clay. They all looked at me like I had three heads to begin with. I said, just hold it. So they had this clay and they were playing with that. So just feel into it. And I want you to just consider, you know, what textures it. We went through the senses, the five senses of touching it, listening to it,
I'm
smelling
relaxed
it.
already, honestly. Just listening to you talk about it.
You know, we even considered what it tastes like. I mean, I know that's a bit extreme. I didn't ask anybody to eat it, but we've all splashed in the mud or wiped our face with
Yeah,
mud.
yeah.
We know what it tastes like. So we even went there, and you could see shoulders drop
Yeah.
within 5-10 minutes just working with the medium. So to then go on and explore themselves via, it was a self-portrait project, but my projects are never literal. So
Yeah.
I'll ask you
You
to,
weren't looking to make a picture of themselves with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, great. Some people might have made a physical face portrait, but others, it was an expression of self or a feeling that they had, an emotion they were experiencing. And, you know, an hour and a half later, it was hard to peel the clay off them. They wanted to stay.
Yeah. I
to,
can imagine, actually. I really could. I can imagine. Well, a lot of creative outlets must be quite meditative without, is that the right way to say that? Meditative? Yeah, I think it is. To say that, like to go into that zone where you say, like I say quite often, I can't meditate
Mhm.
because my mind is too busy and I can't get it to do the quiet thing. I can't just observe. But give me a guided meditation, I can focus. But the most amazing meditation for me is yoga because I'm focusing so hard on my breathing and the muscles that are stretching and moving that I realized that for that hour, I didn't think about anything other than my breath.
Yeah,
So for me, that's my best meditation. I can imagine that being with that clay, you might not be able to sit still and meditate, but all of a sudden just focusing on that.
yeah.
You are meditating.
Yeah, and you know that's another of the biggest learnings I've had, and one of the as a course facilitator, one of the biggest shares that I bring to the students is everyone is able to meditate. You've just got to find your way.
Yeah.
And meditation isn't sitting cross-legged on a cushion and, you know, for hours on end still in silence. It might be for some people, but the vast majority of us and the way we're just constantly wired really in this day and age, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
constantly busy. Everybody is living with a level of stress, whether they feel it, call it that or not. That's ultimately what it is. And we all need a quiet space to relax in. So think of it as relaxing if you can't meditate.
Yeah.
Art, creativity is so often a way that people can find that space for themselves.
Definitely. I look at meditation as a quieter mind. It's not a quiet mind necessarily, but
Okay.
quieter,
Yeah.
less thoughts, less direct stress. So it's just taking away that bombardment that you receive in your life, however that looks for you. And I could imagine just sat with something like that and painting and finger painting and all of those things we're talking about.
Yeah.
The mind is too busy focusing on that to be thinking about the other things. It's that's just such a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, it really is. And it is so accessible.
Yeah,
And I think, it's people do have this fear of art and all these sort of old beliefs of not being good at art at school, or being told you can't draw, or being told, oh, you're the sporty one, or you're good at writing, rather than being artistic. But it's like we said before, it's in all of us. We all have that ability and that sense that we can tap into.
completely. And I've spoken a lot. There was one episode I did that was quite heavy on the creativity. I just read a book. It's called Big Magic by the woman that did Eat,
Elizabeth.
Pray, Love. Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert. That's it.
Yeah.
Brilliant book. Literally about grabbing that creativity when it knocks at your door, because if not, the muse gets bored and it'll just disappear. Grab that moment, every moment that it presents itself to you. Don't let it run away. Absolutely wonderful book. Very inspiring. You feel really fired up when you finish. Like you want to go do something. Um, and I did a bit in an episode saying that, creativity, it doesn't have to be difficult. So my father-in-law is incredibly creative in his garden. His garden is so beautiful. He really not just knows his stuff, and he's not just naturally good at it, but he is very creative with it, with what he does, where he puts it, what he chooses, and all this combination and so on. Very creative in the garden. My husband's a creative chef. The fact that he can create things out of nothing and make delicious stuff that makes people happy out of next to nothing is amazing. It doesn't it doesn't always have to look as complicated as people
No.
think.
And
And
I
it
think it's
can be an everyday thing, can't it? Like you said, what do you say about the making a bed? Making a bed so beautiful and neat. Yeah,
in
it's
the right place.
well,
But it's about exploring. It's about allowing the freedom around creativity. There are too many rules. I'm not the biggest fan of colouring books. I'm not the biggest fan of, crosswork patterns as such, because yes, they can be mindful and they can help you calm and still, and I'm not knocking that for a minute, but they're not allowing that
never
natural
said,
freedom.
yeah,
It's a different sort of creativity. There's nothing wrong with them, and I do all those things myself as well. But the expression of self isn't in those,
it's lost.
like
Yeah,
when you just go for it.
yeah. No, I absolutely love that. So when you're dealing with your clients and your students and everything, what would you call your most obscure form of creativity that people kind of go, oh, that's an unusual one.
Uh, gosh, most obscure. It's all a bit weird. It is. It's all a bit weird.
Love
I've been called woo-woo on more than one occasion, I can promise you. Um, do you know what? There is this most simple breath work activity that I do that people are like, what? Nah. And we could actually do it. It is that simple. It's a pen and a piece of paper. In fact,
it.
let me grab it. Let's do
Uh,
it.
let's do it. Hold on a second. Let me get a piece of paper.
Let me get a pen. Oops, dropped the pen.
How do
Sorry.
you do a pen? Hey, pen and a piece of
Right.
paper.
So while gathering pen and paper, so it's maybe not obscure, but certainly simple, and so simple that it's hard to believe until you try it. Really, all we're going to do is draw lines back and forth across the page. Can you see that?
Yep.
And we're going to breathe in as we draw one way. Just pause at the end as we come around the corner before breathing out, drawing the other way. Pause in, breathing in. And don't worry if these lines are not perfect. And breathe out. Just 5 breaths. Just see if you can continue that. But the idea is to allow your breath to guide the pen rather than your pen to guide the breath. So see if you can just follow the breath with the pen. So just breathing in and breathing out.
Oh, well, that's super relaxing.
Breathing in. Yeah.
Wow.
And breathing out. And that's probably just about 5 breaths. And you can,
Yours was much neater than mine. Mine's a little bit spaced out.
do you know,
Brilliant.
again, it doesn't matter what those lines look like. You could go
Oh,
back and across the same line. It doesn't matter. But just 5 breaths and you can feel a shift, can't you? A leveling, a
yeah.
grounding.
Again, it sort of switches the brain off. You know, there was a point, probably about halfway down those lines, I kind of went, we're actually recording here and I'm not paying the slightest bit of attention to this brain. So it didn't switch my brain off.
Mm.
It really did. Like just for a
Honestly,
short while, it turned it off.
do 5 breaths, come back to your natural breath, do 5 more, maybe do 15 breaths in that way. And it just works to
Yeah.
level you. And it's probably one of the first exercises I do with a client, because it's empowering. You can take that with you. You can hold on to that skill, that exercise, and use it again and again and again. And most people have got a pen and a piece of paper within reach wherever they are.
Yeah.
And actually, do you know what? If you haven't got a pen and a paper and you're standing in a queue, open and close your hands, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, you know, and just allow that breath to lengthen and slow down with each time.
Yeah.
So maybe not the most obscure, but really simple
No,
and
but I still really, really loved it. I loved that. Yeah.
really.
Oh no, I keep looking down at it. I'm just sure I'm looking down at that. Yeah. No, absolutely loved that. I think you should give that guy a go at home, actually, everyone, because that was, yeah, very mellow, very chill. And I love for my clients, because I do deal with a lot of anxiety with my clients, that I like to offer what I would call, what would you call it? Like, sort of discreet solutions.
Yeah.
Because not everybody wants to be, as you just sort of said, like in the middle of a supermarket or in the middle of an office, or where they're doing a job that they hate and it's causing them anxiety, where they've got to all of a sudden start box breathing and so on. It's a great skill to have, but it's
Yes.
not subtle. You know, that's for you at home when you're quiet. So I love to give them discreet tension relievers. And I would say that's one of them. Like you said, just sat there, just like in the corner, you just, yeah, like, wow, how
Yeah.
effective. Like,
Really,
yeah,
really effective.
no,
Yeah.
that's absolutely incredible. Absolutely
Definitely one
incredible.
of those. This is one of those. If I'd only known that when
Yeah,
I was sat at my desk in the corporate world, you know, it would have just helped me balance and maybe let go of some of that anxiety that was so built up there. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, but you see, if you'd known that then and you'd relieved all of that tension, you would probably still be there and not doing what you're doing now, which is actually helping other people. So, you know, everything has its path, and, you know, you definitely seem to be exactly where you are supposed to be.
Do you know, I genuinely do love what I do, and I genuinely do benefit personally from what I do.
It's
So
amazing.
I wouldn't share something that hadn't worked for me. I haven't found something that hasn't yet, but I wouldn't, because I don't know, that is, I lead from my heart now. And I think that's the biggest change I've made in my life, is that I feel whether things are right. I feel, you know, what decision I'm going to make, whether it's a yes or a no. And I actually spend that time listening to myself. And that has been life changing for me. It
Definitely.
really has.
I think it's easy for us to all say, you need to follow your heart, follow your instinct, trust your intuition. But holistically speaking, it's more than just kind of like, oh, just listen to your heart. What's your heart telling you? You know, it really is. It's why we find that we meet lots of heart-led um, intuitives, heart-led therapists, heart-led businesswomen, because they are literally doing what you just said. They are following their body. It's not just your heart, it's not just your mind, it's not just your intuition, your gut feeling. You are listening to what your body needs, and then you are able to guide people so that they can listen to their body, which I think is probably the biggest shake up that the world is having at the moment, is that people really are starting to listen and realizing that this life is not really the way it should be for people. We
Mhm.
shouldn't feel like this.
Yeah, like I
Not
said
right.
earlier, the majority, in fact, I would hasten to say all people are living with a level of stress.
Yeah.
And it's so normalized. It's so normal to be running around and busy and chasing the kids here and dropping them off there and being
Something
late
to be
for
proud of as well. That's what they tried to pin on us, is that we should be proud when we do this much stuff. We should be proud of ourselves. No,
no,
it's too much. Nobody was ever built.
we
Our
weren't
bodies
built
weren't
for it.
built for this. Our minds weren't built for this. It's too
No,
much for us. It is. And creativity is, for me, just the hugest thing to ground me back to earth. I, as I said earlier, feel the humongous benefits of when I do it, but I
yeah,
also feel the loss. You know, I can really
okay,
like just run for X, Y, and Z, and I burn out, I burn out, I burn out. And then you look and you kind of go, well, what have you done as a
yeah,
creative outlet? And then I'll go sing with my band member. I will create a podcast. I will write a post on the holistic
mm,
creative crystal clear mind page, something that comes from my heart, something that comes from my soul that I really mean, that's kind of got a creative flow to it when I write. I will do any of those things, and all of a sudden I sort of feel a bit buzzed, you know, you
yeah,
kind of go, oh, why do I feel so good
exactly.
all of a sudden? And it's that simple, you know, just these things are so necessary in a
Yeah.
very, very dark world. I think that we would be lost without that creative outlet very much.
Yeah, definitely. And even I have to check back in because creativity is what I do every day,
Yeah.
but it's also my business. So I have to be very careful that I'm creating for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Make,
definitely.
and, make it that bit selfish that I need these things as well.
Yeah, of
And
course.
stepping back and actually going, right, that's work, that's for everybody else, that's the business. Now I'm going to step over here and I'm going to smudge that paint across the page, or I'm going to make something in clay, or I'm going to do a breathwork exercise, and that's for me.
Yeah,
And actually really being aware and conscious of that space and time. Because if you don't look after yourself, how
you
can you
can't look after
possibly
others.
look after anyone else?
No, absolutely. And I had a wonderful woman on a couple of years ago, and she said it's not about filling your cup; it's about overflowing your cup, so that you have so much excess,
Extra.
good,
Yeah.
and it won't bother anything that you need either. And I thought that just really sat with me, you know, when you kind of go, oh yeah, you know, they say don't fit, you know, don't give out on an empty cup, and you kind of go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And but yeah, overfill your cup so you give away the
Mhm.
excess and doesn't affect you. It's just
Absolutely.
beautiful. And you are right, just because you are a creative businesswoman and a creative leader, and you are always going through creative motions with your people, it's not for you,
Mm.
even if you are touching it and feeling it and being a part of it and
Yeah.
teaching it.
Using that cup
Yeah,
analogy, that's depleting. That's
yeah,
actually me giving and me
exactly.
supporting and me benefiting others.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
don't get me wrong, I love what I do, and there is a little top up for me in that for
Yeah,
sure, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's actually consciously stepping aside and doing that for me as
yeah.
well. And I'm still learning how to do that. Do not get me wrong. I've not mastered that.
It's all a process, isn't it? It's why I put on the podcast. It's an ever learning journey.
Oh,
It's ever evolving, ever learning. It never stops. We never get to the end of this.
no,
Never get to
never.
the end and stop and go, oh, I'm done now. No, you are learning all the way through. And I think it's good that we should learn because we're changing too. You know,
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
year of our life, every moment, every big thing that happens to us, all these things change us. So we change, we adapt. So
Absolutely.
we need to change what's going on around us and what heals us and what feels good. And, someone was asking me the other day after a healing session, like, how do you heal yourself after you've healed me? And I said,
Mm,
well, that's a really good point because healers have to be healed themselves. They need healing too, even if they're just giving it to themselves. And it is about filling your cup back up.
it is.
Definitely.
A phrase I use all the time, and if you've seen me on social media, you'll have seen it, but it's learn, grow, heal, and it's always learning, always growing, always healing.
Yeah.
And that's self and others, in this line of work. And that really resonates.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is
Oh,
absolutely beautiful. Well, Katie, I cannot thank you enough for coming on today. It's been wonderful and definitely a show I love. I resonate so much with this side of things that I just say, I hope that for any other creative people out there, it's been an inspiration. And a little jolt as well, because it makes us want to get up and do stuff, And for those that feel that they're not creative, I just really hope that it inspires you to realize that you don't have to feel hugely skilled to make this happen. That you can just pick up a pen or doodle or start singing along to the radio. One of the ones I learnt recently was humming. I
yeah.
sing all the time. It is who I am. So it comes very naturally to me. But humming, the vibration of you humming, especially at certain frequencies that you probably don't even know that you're tapping into, you just happen to be humming notes, is incredibly beneficial for you. Absolutely love that when I realized that. Just hum. Dance in the kitchen, as you said.
Dancing
Get the
pitch.
finger paints out. Lick your kids' bits and bobs from the arts and crafts cupboard. Really.
You
Get
know
stuck
those bits
in.
that you don't use anymore. Get them out and use them yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. We got pavement chalks recently. I think again I'm probably the big kid here that's having more fun with the pavement chalks than anybody else. I think they're brilliant. Absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant. Wash them off, start again. Absolutely fabulous. But I
exactly.
hope that we've inspired you guys today. And if you would like to reach out to Katie or work with Katie or learn from Katie, I will pop all of her information in the bio of the episode so you know where to find her. And you'll also see it all advertised over Facebook anyway. So, reach out. I'm sure she would absolutely love to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, Becky.
Thanks so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. And I'm sure we will chat again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And until next time, guys, take care.